Well, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Martial Arts Extraordinaire podcast. And today we are highlighting Professor Kim Blake. If you have not picked up your copy of the new Martial Arts Extraordinaire magazine, get your copy. She is featured in here, and we have a special section that we've just started. And the special section is who's really who in the martial arts. And here we are talking about who are who are our rising stars, and who are the legacy builders. And we have Professor Blake featured as one of our AMAA rising stars. And AMAA stands for the American Martial Arts Alliance. Hey, Miss Kim, how you doing?
I am great. How's she, Jesse Bowen? It's great to speak with you once again.
Well, we really, really do appreciate you. We started the magazine back now about 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
it's come up to be one of the uh, number one best-selling magazines on Amazon. And we have some great people there, such as yourself, and martial artists who are really making a difference. And that's what our organization is really about. It's not about all the bling bling, what I call the bling bling bling, all the awards and stuff, that
Yes.
we're recognizing you and other martial artists for your contribution, but it's all the things that you are continually to do, and we offer a platform to bolster, what you're doing in the martial arts and letting other martial artists know about it, because we are role models,
Yes.
and the people that we have in our organization that we are affiliated with, that's what they are. They're role models, and they're for other martial artists to have a chance to see who's doing what. And the title rising star means that you are constantly, moving up, and you're shining very bright. I know when we first met you, I don't know if you were actually doing seminars or anything like that, but
Mhm.
now you've been featured in several of our books. I see the
Yeah.
seminars, and I see all the
Mhm.
places and things you're doing. Actually, I went to your Facebook page, and I think you had a post from, I think, beginning part of the year, had almost 1,000 likes. So,
Wow.
so I think that was from the United States Hall of Fame. Your family was there, but yeah, I think it was 900 and some likes that you had on there.
Mhm.
So again, people are watching you, people are noticing you, and so when we look at social media, we now become influencers. So let's talk about you. Tell our audience, who is Kim Blake? I know you have a whole story of getting started in the martial arts, but
I do.
introduce yourself to our audience.
Um, I'm just a person who got started very late in martial arts in her life, and been doing martial arts consistently since then. So that's been 21 years ago when I was 41. So I've achieved black belts in three different disciplines. I'm still training, still competing on a high level internationally. I'm training for a um, competition coming up in August, which will be during the time that I will be in Vegas during your um,
Come on over.
event as well. So I'll be running back and forth during that time. Um, but my thing is, I stepped on late with my challenges. I know my challenges, and I want to encourage other women with challenges to step on the mat. Even when I teach things in frames. I break things down in frames, or how Disney broke things down. When I say that, we all are in a place, or we get into a place in our life, like even on the mat, and I call that a frame. So when you put those frames together, you have Super 8 films, and on the Disney part, Disney, he had the artist. They would draw, and they would draw a character, and each time they draw it would be in a different position. So when you flip the pages through, then you have like an activation of that character. So when I teach, that's how I teach. So when you start putting your parts together, you should flow. You should be able to move forward. So that's what I want to share.
I know for ladies that may be listening to our podcast, as you said, you got started later in
Hmm.
life, and I think we had an interview. You're telling us about that very first class
Oh, yeah.
experience. So if you survive the first class, and that's where the
Yes.
most courage comes in, is
Hmm.
being able to walk through the door. But I know I can. My testimony is if it had not been for the courage to walk through the door
Hmm.
of my first class, and you have to have a good teacher. We have to
Yes.
emphasize that it is not just the martial arts that stands alone, but it is having a good teacher,
Yes.
and that teacher uh, has a great philosophy and focus,
Yes.
because that is your launch pad in your martial arts study. That person will influence you. And if that person is constantly growing and developing and bringing new information, because the student is actually modeling the teacher.
Correct.
And if the teacher doesn't do enough, then the student's going to leave, and
Hmm.
they may go to another teacher, or they may go, and in today's time is buy a black belt and make it up. you know and that's because that's the low opinion that they may have. But going into that first class, having a good teacher that can teach you not only about the technique, but the visual and mental part
Hmm.
of your training. Because at 72, I can tell you sometimes the physical part and the beauty may leave, but
Hmm.
the other part that you have to have, as a martial artist, that keeps you going all, until the end, because we're looking at building a foundation.
Yeah.
And I know, I think in the interview you were talking about, that you were crying those big tears, and you were trying to figure
They
out
were
how
ugly.
to how to escape. How do I
Yeah.
get out of here?
Yeah, they were big, ugly. They weren't pretty tears at all. And I understand and I agree about the great teacher, that you need a great teacher to pull things out of you. But if you don't pass that threshold, you know, you have to, if that teacher is able to recognize, that that person's struggling, or to find a way to pull them in, and they should. In my case, it was another student who saw. Um, he was also an instructor, but he wasn't instructing on that day. He was actually being a student. So I guess he had both platforms going at the same time, where he was able to encourage me to keep going.
I'm always asked, well, have you ever thought about quitting? For the past 50 years, almost coming up on 50 years of my life, I've been involved in the martial arts. And someone
Hmm.
asked me, have you ever thought about quitting? Well, I did, and it was my green belt. I started teaching when I was a green belt, and I was actually paid to
Hmm.
teach. And I was in the morning class, and my teacher had taught me so much in that period of time. And so when my job changed, I came to the evening, says, I want you to be my assistant instructor in the classroom. I knew as much as the brown belts. But walking out on the floor for the very first time, that was a very difficult time. And I was standing there, and I got all these students standing in front of me, and nothing would come out. They're looking at me, and I don't know what to do. And I remember going into my instructor's office, and he was sitting in his chair with his hands behind his head. And I knocked on the door and said, "Come on in." I said, "Sir, I just can't do this." He says, "Yes, you can." He says,
Yeah.
"Yes, you can." He pulled out a book which was called The Mythology of Teaching, a book
Okay.
that he'd written. It was a notebook. And he handed it to me and says, "Now go home and then come back tomorrow. Read this, come back tomorrow." I went home and I studied, came back the next day. It wasn't that much better. But you see, the more I started to come back, the
Mm-hmm.
better it began. And that's what about quitting. Anybody can quit.
Yes.
That's what a rising star is. That
Yes.
you have to go through a lot to create a star,
Mm-hmm.
just from a scientific point. And so it doesn't mean that the road is always easy. And
Mm-hmm.
then I remember going to my purple belt test. I failed my purple belt test. Now I'm teaching, and we had a pretty large school, and my teacher had about 6 schools throughout the state, and went to testing, and they failed me.
Oh, wow.
And I was going, they don't like me, it was, I had all the reasons. And in fact, I went out and we had testing and tournaments the same day. And I'm taking my gear off and I'm throwing it in the trunk of my car and I'm never coming back again. And I remember this as I'm talking about it. I remember a student, her name was Emma Mitchell. I think she was like a blue belt in the class. And several other students came out. I had my 1976 Monte Carlo, swivel seats, T-top. Hey, I'm going, I'm out of here. And those words that Emma said, she said, "So if we fail our test, we should quit." I turned and looked at her. I became
Mm-hmm.
a leader at that
Yes.
very moment. That was the moment that my life changed. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, "No, you shouldn't quit."
Mm-hmm.
So I went back into the tournament and I won my first place trophy
Wow.
that day.
Yeah.
I'd been competing for a year, hadn't won anything.
Mm-hmm.
That day I won my first place trophy. And since that point in time, I've never lost.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Those moments that really shape us,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to build us in the martial arts.
Yeah,
And I
definitely,
know,
definitely checkpoints for sure.
yeah, and that's what you
Mm-hmm.
have to really think about. So for our listeners, if you are involved in the martial arts, you've got your own story, and especially if you've continued your journey in the martial arts, and you have these different stories that we actually tell. So Kim, in becoming a rising star, for the magazine. Again, we have a certificate and everything's coming out to you. You have a phenomenal family. So you're a martial arts family, and you've done what a lot of parents have done. And I always emphasize that your best students are the ones that are sitting in the chairs. You call
Exactly.
them parents.
Mm-hmm.
They are your best students. So please don't overlook the parents
Definitely.
because they're sitting there and probably looking for a reason or a way to be able to get to the floor.
Mhm.
So what is your story on, as I know with Randy and
Mhm.
I think your other son was involved in the martial arts?
Yes. Well, with my oldest son Randy, who's the reigning world champion kickboxer. With him, um, we had purchased him a punching bag so that he wouldn't punch his little brother at the time. And so after we did that, he instead of punching it, he was kicking it, and he kind of shook the whole house when he kicked it. He was maybe 5 at the time, and at that time, I had gotten to the point that I wanted to take martial arts when I was 13, and I was told um, that girls didn't do that. So when we saw that Randy had that ability, we got him in um, to martial arts. And my youngest son got into martial arts once we moved to Oklahoma at older, a, a little older age, and he got to his third degree black belt. Um, and now my granddaughter, she's interested. She does private kickboxing lessons with her dad. Um, we're trying to get her into jujitsu, which she tells me that that's the ginger class. She knows that it's jujitsu, and she understands it's a gi, but she calls it the ginger class. She says, Ma, are you going to your ginger class? Okay. So, but we want to get her into to watch a couple tournaments before we even get her into class. But um, I'll be doing one-on-one with her to help her prepare as well. But you definitely want to show her the other little kids doing it first.
Right, right, right. Well, that's great. Now, and again, Randy, world champion kickboxer. And just think about it. If you hadn't bought that punching bag or
Hmm.
hadn't made that decision
Hmm.
to put it involved in the martial arts, we're all going to have an outcome in life, regardless
Yes.
to what we do. There's an outcome. As long as we live, there's
Hmm.
an outcome every day, every second in our lives. But as we think back of the power of the martial arts and
Hmm.
how many doors it has opened for us, that I have no idea what I would be doing if I was not involved in the martial arts. And if I didn't take advantage of all the opportunities that it has presented to me. And that's
Exactly.
another thing. You can be involved in something, but you don't take advantage of the opportunities.
Hmm.
And so, and just like with this program, when we recommended you for to be featured in the magazine, you had a choice. But
Hmm.
since you made that choice, here you are on our podcast. It's another something to add to your resume of
Exactly.
recognition. You never know where this comes, where it's going to go to.
Hmm.
You've had that opportunity to be a guest instructor on our virtual programs.
Yes.
Great job. So again, you've got a lot of opportunities
Yes.
uh, that you may or may not have had if you
Hmm.
hadn't taken advantage of just
Hmm.
that one opportunity of getting involved in our organization,
Hmm.
getting to know, who we are, what we're about. Are we perfect? No,
Hmm.
we're not perfect, but we're striving every day to be the
Hmm.
best organization
Yeah.
out there who provides another level of not just training, not just the marketing on growing your business, but we
Hmm.
want to be a organization that's known for developing people.
Yes.
That people that are in our organization, and we're going to do everything we can possibly do to make sure that
That's
happens.
right. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
what's your advice? You're now, at a high level, and we'll say for young ladies, because the information, it doesn't matter if you're, a guy or a lady. The information
Yes.
is the same.
It's the
So, what
same.
information would you give to a student that maybe they're coming to black belt? That's when most
Hmm.
people, if they don't have a good vision, a good next step, that they quit. They get to
Hmm.
black belt, they get it on. Okay, is this it? All right, let me go on to the next thing. And so, what advice do you give?
I remember a speech I had during a program that I was in, and while I was in high school, and the guy, he was a NASA employee, and he said that no matter what your choice to do in life, you're still going to live. You're still going to be the same age, whether you choose to go to school or do anything in life. When the time comes, you're still going to be that same age. So the result is, are you going to be that martial artist? Are you going to be that um, engineer or school teacher, lawyer, or whatever you're going to be? Or even, if you go downhill, are you going to be that degenerate uh, person? You're still going to be the same age. So my advice is to start, by me starting at a uh, later age than most in martial arts. I learned to be intentional. And my thing is to be intentional. What's your why of stepping on the mat? Complete the why. Um, if it's to be better, be better. Learn how to be better each day, not better all at once, and then that's it. There's always room to improve. There's always room to be better. But to be intentional, to be a student, um, be open to knowledge. And I'm blessed to have met you and AAMA. It's a great organization. It's helped me to put what I wanted to um, impact people with, even worldwide. It helped me to get that message out, to help me be heard.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate that because that's what we do. And, for you, for your, family and, we don't want to just touch one part of you
Yes.
or our members. We want to support wherever you're going or whatever you're doing. We really want to support that.
Mhm.
And, what we've discovered, as in my mission is to introduce the technology and the how to
Yeah.
into martial arts and running their business. We understand that we are at a different place of being able to bring in our tradition uh, into our modern state of life
Yes.
and how to be able to bring those things together. I always tell people, did you watch The Last Samurai? then,
Yeah.
then, then you'll realize that
Mhm.
tradition is what we want and that we love. But in today's society, it's hard for that to stand. So you
Mhm.
have to reframe, using
Mhm.
your word, you have to reframe your teaching and
Exactly.
understand your audience and
Yes.
how did they learn in, because the way that I learned the martial arts was because it's totally different than I would probably teach you today. My
Mhm.
very first class, I didn't want to get beat up anymore by anyone. Growing up, I was a kid that they always beat up. Let's go beat
Mhm.
Jesse up. And then at 21, not wanting to be beat up again. And in that first class, the instructor was trying to sell me on why to join karate. So he stood me about 3 inches from the wall. He says, "Let me show you karate." Put his fist in my chest. Almost slammed me through the wall. And I'm going, I just want to sign up. I just want to sign up. And he goes, sit down and sign up. I'm going, okay. So that should have been my turn off point.
Oh
So
my gosh.
you probably know how bad it was, at 21 being picked on and couldn't find your
Mhm.
way out of the paper bag. And the
Mhm.
instructor, he's beating you up, but you choose to go with the guy that's beating you up. you
Yes.
know. uh, but that's really what we're doing, and I think in what you've been doing as we're watching you, and you take these opportunities, you move forward on them, and you better yourself. And we've seen
Mhm.
you really grow. And there's a lot of people out there, but you're one of the ladies in the martial arts. We constantly see you. Again, that's like in that post. You're starting to be one of those people that are inspiring other people. You've got this great journey, and you're an influencer. So that's where we want to be. We want to be able to be an influencer. So when we look back, that
Mhm.
people can see our lives, say, well, I like what they're doing. I want
Mhm.
to add this person as a mentor, because we can be mentors and not even know the person. So we can actually, really be able to do that. So we have a lot of power as influencers in the martial arts. So what's next for you? I know you got the event coming up, hanging
Mhm.
out in Vegas. Any other big things that's going on? And what is your ranking level in the martial arts?
I have several. Um, as you know, that I'm a second degree in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu um, under Carlos Machado, and I'm a second degree in Ketsuko under the late Taro Brocious. Um, I have my fifth degree certified and recertified under the International Board of Council, the Hall of Fame, um, but originally under Dale Cook.
Mm,
And I was ranked seventh degree black belt under Dan Roberts.
wow. When do you breathe?
I just I
Ah,
just keep it moving. And if you're in motion, to me, that's how you meet people. I can sit back and sit on the couch each day and eat the buns, but and play um, keyboard warrior or get out there and do. So, even I stepped on the judo mat again, a couple weeks ago or last month. 'Cause I think I've had 4 solid weeks of it. And that's to enhance my takedowns in jujitsu is to learn judo.
mm.
So um when
Hated
I
it.
yeah, I was like, I don't like this end game. What's the end game here? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
like that end game.
and
But
so
you have to know it, right?
yeah, well, judo, and judo was one of the second arts that I studied, and
Mm-hmm.
my one of the founders of our organization, he was a judo guy, and
Mm-hmm.
so we added judo into my school, and my instructor was blind,
Oh
and
boy.
he was a top ranked in fifth degree black belt in judo. And his whole thing was, I just want to get my hands on you. So it was one of
Mm-hmm.
those touchy feely things, and I'm not a touchy feely person, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And but in the I always got paired up with the next biggest guy in the class, and
Oh my God.
sweat dripping on me, and didn't like it, you know, you know, But Aikido,
Mhm. Oh, that's different.
that is my love and art. But I
Yes.
just brought that up because you're one of those people that we since we know your journey, we know and see the things you do, then we understand that the hard work and the determination
Mhm.
of your martial arts study as a student. So it's not an off time. Someone says, "Well, how can you have all this rank in these different styles?" But see, that's the whole thing about our
Mhm.
mind be wanting
Yes.
more. I
Yes.
want to know more. How do I integrate these things?
Mm-hmm.
And I reached that point in my study where I didn't want to hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
If I put my karate on you, you will never forgive me. You'll never forgive me. You'll remember that day.
Yes.
But if I can
Yes.
control you and now give you an opportunity to rethink it, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the reason why of adding starting to study of Aikido plus with other physical sports
Yeah.
and things that I was
Mhm.
doing really help with that. But we really want to just say that number one, as you said, you appreciate us. We really appreciate you. And we're looking for martial artists that would like to become a part of our organization. You can go to our website, and our website is www.who's who in the martial arts. If you're looking to become a published author, and we didn't really even touch on that, Kim. Let me ask you a question on that. When you've been in several of our compilation books that we've actually done, this what I call the easy button, the way to write a book, and you
Mhm.
have other people to help you, like Jeff Smith, Joe Corley, and all those other people that bring their experience in, which
Mhm.
creates that into being an amazing book. So tell us your experience about doing that. Had you been doing any writing or anything before, published blogs or anything before you
Um,
did a compilation book?
yeah, I did a couple like articles, like for the magazines, a few for your magazines,
Mhm.
like the newspaper type things, but nothing um, as extent as the compilation book, which is to me is a stair step to where I want to be. But the experience that I had, like you said, it's just so many great martial artists out there, and by me starting late and being um, on that level where I can keep up. I mean, it's not keep up, but just being on the same. You kind of it's a feeling like an undescribable feeling to me because I don't feel that I'm on that level, but I am truly grateful for the opportunity to have been on the level with those great martial artists.
Well, the next thing, we got to do your book. The ladies out there and other martial arts, you have a great story. You have so much. Sitting down, doing a brainstorm and finding that maximum story, because through our stories, our teaching, we continue to motivate and to be able to do so. Let me know when you're ready to do your book. Would love to help you to bring all of that together, because we did in 2015, we did a book that was never scheduled to be a second book, and here we are at book number 11. And
Mhm.
so you never know. It's that same thing. You never know what door will open because you
Yes.
decided to walk through a door. So you never know what that door is. And everyone, so remember, this is the magazine. This is the Martial Arts Extraordinaire magazine. Great profiling here on Kim and other martial artists. If you are looking to be featured in our magazine, to help promote your martial arts, to help build your brand, then reach out to us. Let us know. We are looking for martial arts. Well, I'm not on that level. I'm not a great champion. This is not a champions magazine. This is not a famous magazine. It is a marketing and branding magazine to help people tell their story. It is a tool. And that's what we think of the magazine. That's the reason why, we have, the followers we have, subscribers we have, and it is still, in the Kindle, it was, I know as yesterday, was still the number one best-selling magazine in the category
Absolutely.
of judo. So much information in here. So if you're looking to grow your martial arts school, if you're looking to do something different, then social media marketing is not it. The magazine marketing, having the opportunity to have your personalized cover feature, and then with all the marketing things that we do. So let us know. Again, you can reach out to us at Elite Publications, or in the post, you'll see a link in there. And you can go to Elite Publications and set up a time for me, a schedule. I love to sit down and talk to you about brand building and how you can advance your martial arts journey. Any last words from you, Kim?
Um, just keep your journey strong and true to you and not anyone else.
That is awesome, everyone. So remember, this program is sponsored by Elite Publications. Everyone has a story. You just have to get it out. Check out our event coming up in Las Vegas, the Who's Who in the Martial Arts Hall of Honors. Really a very large training event that weekend with seminars and VIP receptions. We're having an authors event. So a lot of things happening in Las Vegas. Come on over. And if you're going to sign up and be in Vegas, then I'm going to give you, one of our sponsors, we're going to give you your blazer. Now, I know, Kim, I saw the picture I was getting ready to post. I know you got your blazer last
Yes.
year, and
Yes.
you look very lovely in it.
Thank
So,
you.
so remember, sign up, and we're going to gift you your blazer. Your blazer is about $300. So we're going to give you that as a gift. That's our 4th of July promotion. We're wrapping up our event. We have a whole ceremony around the presentation of your blazer and your ring. So you don't want to miss that opportunity to be a part of that. Everyone, this is Grandmaster Jesse Bowen along with Professor Kim Blake. We thank you for taking the time and, listening to this powerful interview. And remember, I'll tell you again, everyone's got a story. You just have to get it out. Everyone, be blessed.